welcome. Now that we have our computer equipment working, let us start our meeting with general introductions. Tom?
Tom Schneider, Interim Executive Director.
Stan Delia, board member.
Kitty Macy, board member.
Diane Zeller, board member.
Connie Kuzma, I'm sorry.
Oh, John Carroll Smith, board member.
Connie Cosmeno, board member. Thank you.
Debbie Godden, port employee.
Kim Natoli, port employee.
And just for the board's sake, Pat is up in the silo doing repairs and will join the meeting if and when he can get it.
Thank you. I see that they're loading a car.
They're loading we'd already loaded some grain cars, so we tried to switch over to dumping a truck that, lever up top that moves it from unloading to receiving, got stuck, and
Oops.
and they're up there trying now to unstick it. So the loading of the grain car is in order to empty out the bin up top to see if we can get that thing to move. But I will tell you that the grain silo is a very sophisticated piece of equipment with a lot of electronics, and it sits here on the end of a very harsh winter environment, and it's had a couple of hiccups in that regard.
We hope for quick repair.
We sure did.
Okay, our first agenda item will be motion 113-2501 to approve the minutes of 12/16/2024, that's December. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes or a motion?
I'll move it.
Diane?
I'll second it.
John? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstains? Okay, it passes. And next we move to administrative operational budget, which is exhibit B in your,
Operation report.
what did I say?
You said budget, I wasn't prepared to discuss budget.
I am sorry, I did not mean that. Administrative operational
Everything came out,
report.
right?
Okay, go ahead, Tom. Thank
Okay,
you.
this, this is sort of just in the same format that it's been in before. I'm sure that I'll evolve the format over time. But I just want to thank the board for this opportunity, more particularly thank the staff and the labor here at the port for being very welcoming and very helpful to me as I try to, learn even more in depth what we do here and what goes on on a day-to-day basis. The operations report that's attached, which is really a kind of a report that's structured to show all of the incoming and outgoing commodities by truck, rail, or vessel. Is something that I have to get a little more familiar with because there was a lot more rail cars that came in than zero. It's like my life was so there's something here that we're not accounting for. I don't know. So I don't want to get hung up on that report because it didn't match my experience, and that's probably my fault. We did have a ship come in, and when we talk about ship and or rail, what we're really seeing is we've seen some grain product come in, particularly empty rail cars to empty the silo and move grain out. But there's still some grain that's even coming in to be dumped. We've had a couple of problems with the silos. One was an air compressor problem, and now this switch that's up top. But we've seen a lot of grain come through from the farm community, being sold off to our customer, our primary grain customer, and delivered to them by rail car. They are the largest exporter of grain by container or containerized grain in the country, and so a lot of the stuff as it leaves here by train makes its way to the secondary collection point and then makes its way down to, I think, the New York, New Jersey terminals, or Baltimore, or, probably one of those two that it then traverses out of. But there's been good activity there, where we're really seeing, you know, the large-scale activity, both by, you know, the Laker ships coming in from Canada, and then by rail coming from many different points, is a lot of different types of aluminum pieces or different ingots, which are classified in different ways as thous or T-bars. But as you saw coming in, we just have a lot on site. And I think what we see is, because a lot of these are coming from Canada, is a rush to get as much across the border and into the U.S. prior to January 20th as possible. And so we have a lot in storage here. We are, you know, we get them in by rail, sea, and truck, and then they get shipped out to Novelis Oswego by truck, and we certainly have had far more coming in than going out. And it's really just a stockpiling of inventory on this side of the border.
Do those tariffs add anything to the storage fees? Or once it's here, it's okay?
Yeah, no. What's you know, the tariffs can't go into effect retroactively, so they can only go into effect prospectively, and would occur on cargo after any such executive order or legislation was passed. And
Okay.
the effective date. of
I
executive order
understand that. I guess
legislation.
my question was, it's bought and owned by Novelis, right? It's still Canadian product?
No. It's
Who owns the
It's
product
different.
that's sitting
Yeah,
there?
it's
Different companies that do that.
yeah. There are a series of, and these are large conglomerates to, you know, smaller commodity brokers, but they're primarily commodity brokers. They may be investment banks, they may be large Japanese trading companies, but at the end of the day, the people that we deal with, who are our customers, who we execute contracts with, are the commodity brokers. We're not really receiving any aluminum from Novelis plants. That is, you know, the ones who are sending us the aluminum have purchased it from the producers of the aluminum ingots themselves. And again, these various forms, size, shapes, and alloy contents of ingots. They're selling them to these commodity brokers. The commodity brokers are selling them on a prospective basis to Novelis, but they are shipping them and storing them
Or
here.
just the storage fee.
And so, you know, mostly what we, if you know, a ship can't come in and get to, you know, Novelis without coming
Right.
through here. So, you know, handling that equipment is, you know, really where our primary business is, handling and storing it, right? Offloading it, storing it, unloading it. It gets transported out. When it hits the gate at Novelis, it transfers ownership from the commodity broker to Novelis. So, you know, they also have, you know, a source of their own supply. And, you know, one of the things we're talking about in executive session on the RFP relates to their own supply and our process in that in the future of some of their deliveries. But it is very confusing because you think that, you know, that the plant is our primary customer. The reality is, you know.
I knew that there was, the commodity brokers were in there, but
Yeah.
I don't understand whether those are American commodity brokers or global commodity brokers or,
Yeah, so here's, the tariffs only occur when they're crossing a border
right?
and are being inspected through customs. So, you know, there has to be a transit on the bill of lading from a foreign, from a foreign domicile to the United States. And it's at that point that any country subject to tariffs would be tariffed, not while it's sitting here, but while it's transported. Now, that tariff isn't something that the port ever pays,
Right.
but the port does have a facility, the foreign trade zone, to store some material or to expand it and store more material. That would delay the time in which the tariff is paid. So it wouldn't be paid. If you deliver into a foreign trade zone, it's still considered not delivered to the United States. It's sitting in intermittent purgatory, right?
That's kind of what I'm
It's
getting
sitting,
at.
it's sitting in an intermediary place, and it's when it's let out of the foreign trade zone that it gets tariffed. And so the advantage of the foreign trade zone is the ability to bring in and store product and only pay tariff as you're taking it out and using it.
Just-in-time purchasing.
Just-in-time purchasing, just-time management of inventory, and anytime you're delaying a payment, you know, you're not losing the opportunity cost of that cash. You have other things that you can do with that cash. So the longer you delay paying something, it's just like, you know, deferring taxes.
Right.
The way you pay it sometimes, most people choose that, assuming that the cost of money is going to always go up, because you're always in some form of inflationary environment, that there's a future time value to money, then you're better off deferring it, because a dollar today is going to be worth less a year from now. And if it's not, then you're in a deflationary environment, it's really bad. Although, that's not true on a relative currency basis. You may trade up and down against other currencies, but if the dollar itself buys more in the future, that's not good.
Kind of on and off the topic here, are you seeing movement in any way in terms of the people that we are doing business with that is reflective of what's coming this next month?
Only relative to those commodity brokers. I don't see any different behavior because of change of administration. I don't know if anyone really knows how change of administration will impact their business, but you know, I haven't, I'm not in a position to see whether or not people are delaying or taking the capital gains or looking at, forward corporate taxes and what they might be. So, no, I other than, and significant to us, the inventory buildup from foreign commodities, I'm not seeing anything on this side. Nor are we seeing any, I haven't heard anybody saying we're slowing down business because of future uncertainties. I mean, we have 2 wars going on actively, more than that, but 2 major wars going on actively, and a full-blown natural disaster in one of the largest cities in America. So, all of those things are going to have their economic effects, but I haven't seen anything relative to the change in administration outside of tariff.
I saw some aerial photos of that fire today, and it's like looking at a city map with all of the streets in it on fire. It's the most devastating thing I've ever seen.
It's horrible.
Where was Fran?
Fran, are you still on the phone?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yep, okay.
All
So, other than that, so the, the cultural center, things are, going well in that relationship. Met with the pro staff, not a big deal. Talk about the transition a little bit later. The room storage I talked about, we'll talk about the executive session. This still watch is this vessel that is sitting out here. I don't know if you've seen it. I can show it to you out the window later. But apparently basically, this vessel, which was an old Canadian icebreaker, and had an owner from Canada who had bought it as a pleasure craft and owned it for a number of years, sold it to someone else as a pleasure craft, who hired a crew, brought it over to Buffalo, and then, unbeknownst to us, maybe we're out there welcome there, and we limped over here on one engine, we asked them for fuel, and parked against the wall. And, you know, when Bill was here, he met with the captain, I was on the other call, I'll talk about it simultaneously, and, you know, we did sign an agreement for dockage through January 3rd, but since January 1, we have not seen anyone there. And we believe, and we've talked to some people in Buffalo who are still trying to chase down money that that crew is owed. We believe it's potentially been abandoned. And all of a sudden, sitting at the end of our dock on the marina side is a liability. You know, it's abandoned, and it's an asset that is operating on very old type engines.
What
I
are
can
our
tell you
options?
far more. We don't know, and we need to speak to Maritime Council, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do this week. Maritime law is its own special animal, and you really have to specialize in maritime law. Pat, do you wanna first give a thumbs up or down relative to the silo?
The silo is running now,
That's a thumbs up?
yes.
Okay.
We're not 100% sure what caused it to have a hiccup, but we've done multiple testing on it, and we're back to running again.
Yeah. So one of the
Has a
things,
grain allergy.
Yes.
one of the things that we're gonna be doing is, it's a little bit awkward the way it's set up, but we have a vehicle that we can utilize to do it, is just to run it periodically, particularly during the winter, maybe at least twice a week, maybe more after today, and just, you know, empty it out into this, you know, barrel from the top and then refill it from the pit on the bottom, just to keep all the mechanisms moving, a little bit warmed up, less sticky, you know. Things, you know, things freeze up out here, you know.
There's ice out there.
Yeah, there's strong flowing ice, you should have, seen it last week, it was, you know, pretty much frozen over from the bridge to the end of the river. You know, Pat has had problems with, you know, the trackmobile, the rail switches, just
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
freezing up. You know, he's on the top of that crane tower, and that wind is whipping out there, it's brutally cold. This is not easy work that you know, those that are outside working in it are doing, and the equipment's good equipment, it's just struggling through it. I'm not sure that the silo ever went through its proper testing phase before we started working with the grain customer, but there are things that, you know, there's water draining that needs to be improved, there's overhead covering that needs to be improved, and
Are we
it's a
still-
complex mechanism.
Is the silo still under any warranty from? No?
No, she's 4 years old now. Everything is off warranty.
But A and Martin was very responsive today, they're the, you know, they're the ones who manufacture these facilities, and you know, came out, and
Yep.
I guess we got it going.
Yep, it's back to running for tomorrow. Keep my fingers crossed.
But, you know, it had a problem the week before with air compressor, and Pat, working with J&E Mechanical, was able to fix that. But it was down for a few days, at the same time when a lot of rail was moving in, so it put us behind on the grain, which is challenging because it's a new grain customer as well as the farmers and truckers experience when they're dumping, and also if they bring in a truckload of grain and only get half of it dumped in before we have a mechanical problem.
I noticed
It's
DeLong
challenging.
brought some in, huh? Green,
They, it's,
or soybean.
yeah, so they're actually who we ship it out to. But I'd
I
rather,
saw a truck that came in.
oh, it could be, yeah, yes, because they have purchased some farms here and they also have some silos. Particularly down in Geneva, so there's a transportation from there to here. Yeah, otherwise, this vessel is a concern, because, the generator's not operating anymore, which means that the bilge pumps aren't operating. It wasn't taking on water last week, but we'll keep our eye on it, and we have to figure out what we can do with it. But some very, very careless person, who had a family on board, seems to have parked it, come to the realization that this little dream of taking it down to the south and having this very old Canadian icebreaker that they could turn into a pleasure craft, realized just how expensive that dream was,
To us.
and abandoned that dream on us.
I mean, you're talking about maritime law being complex, so we haven't made any attempt to board it, inspect it, or have the police.
We have observed it externally, and we have taken some pictures of it in place, but I don't know if we boarded it or not.
Yeah, we gotta be careful on this one.
Yeah.
As long as the dock lines that are holding the boat are the owner's dock lines, then I believe the liability is gonna be at the owner. As soon as we start to secure it, then the liability starts to shift.
Yeah.
If we put our own lines on it, there's an issue.
No.
We gotta be really careful on that. And then, of course, if that's the case, and the thing sinks in the river, how about the environmental impact?
Very, very, very concerned about that, as well as, blocking the channel. Those are our two primary concerns.
The fact that we
that-
have a document that gave them permission to dock there,
Not
is
necessarily.
that gonna put a liability on us?
Certainly, they came in under a process called, I believe, Safe Harbor, and, it would be akin to a plane declaring an emergency. The airport's gotta take them. We have to take them.
I'll
to
tell
Safe
you,
Harbor.
not the first time anything like this has happened. I think reaching out to, like, Caitlin Marina or Navy Point, and ask those guys if they ever had anything like that happen, and what did they do about it?
Mhm.
The biggest problem we got is that thing is too big for us to lift it, unless we brought in a crane, and we picked it up with a crane, put it on a flatbed, took it out to a scrapyard somewhere.
Yeah, we're
Do that.
not quite there yet, but you are absolutely right relative to, we need to understand the laws and the liabilities before we do anything. But meanwhile, it is not in one of the more protected spots along this harbor.
Isn't there some kind of, didn't they have to get contact information or lenses and things?
They did, yep, we have some.
Do we- Are we able to track them down?
No, yeah, we have a phone number, Pat calls it every day.
Yeah,
I
there's
called it.
a
I called it and I left, what I thought was a very firm message, and,
Is that all we've got is a phone number?
We have a copy of the license, I believe we have a registration, I believe the registration is in an LLC, and the owner has been, presenting himself as, just an employee of the owner.
Well, we'll stay tuned for movement forward.
Yes, yes.
Like,
You know, and just a little side thing that we didn't need. But that's my report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you.
Fran, you want to weigh in? You want to come and get it?
I don't even know where to start at now. We got another potential environmental hazard
Yeah.
signal on by the river.
Yeah.
If this is even in a worse spot, they
Yeah.
could eventually, or potentially break away
Yep.
and sink in the river.
Well,
And we
once
gotta
once it-
find out.
once it breaks away, the Coast Guard said we can call them.
Desperate, you know.
We met with the Coast Guard, they, there was nothing that they could do, they could not board it unless it was on open water.
I never heard back if the LT5 ever got the oil rig. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I had a meeting last week with representatives from the museum. The oil has not been removed yet, and they're under a lot of pressure right now relative to their federal grant to put in an updated plan, and they're trying to come up with something that doesn't require them to, tow it to a dry dock, and they're trying to come up with a plan where they can dry dock it here, but they have not, we have not had the fuel removed.
We still have ownership.
We have ownership,
Why?
as I understand it.
Yeah.
As I understand, we have ownership until the boat is dewatered. And, they finish the plan, we have the liability. So we still have to keep aware of that. We have to make sure the lines are in place and we don't have an incident of where it breaks away.
Yeah, no, but I've kept his eye on that because he doesn't want to chase it out into the harbor. But, yeah, they have a plan, seeking a spot where they could maybe, what is it called, Pat? The cribbing around to dry dock it in place?
Yeah, they're just gonna, you're right, they're just gonna dry dock it, pick it up, put it in a coffer dam, and just fill it with dirt, and that's what they wanna do.
But it would have to use, part of our pier down by that old derrick, that's, adjacent to the Golden Marina, and I talked to Ryan Malone just today, because he was calling thinking it doesn't matter. And, we had referred the museum people to Malone because they were so familiar with the pier, and he thinks it'll be a DEC challenge, yet at the same time, and they got Ed Irvine on their side on it. It's also a national historic designated vessel, and if we can get it tucked into some dry dock over there without interfering with our operations, because it's very shallow over there, I don't mind doing that.
Yeah, I'm afraid if we ever put it in dry back over there, that'll be it.
Oh, it will be, yeah, that's what I said.
And I know they're gonna talk to the city about putting it over on city property up over by their pickup pier.
Yeah.
I heard about that, and if there's any progress on that whole thing. So I think a call into the maritime people, I gotta find out what they're thinking.
No, I just met with them a couple of days ago, and if you talk to them, they'll say to you that they're working on a new plan, and they're under a lot of federal pressure to get that new plan in. You asked a question earlier, Diane, and I think there is another thing that I've seen relative to the 20th, and that is anyone who has a federal grant outstanding is being pushed very hard to either exercise those funds or, lock them in.
And so it gets taken away.
Under the potential that it becomes more of an unknown.
Everybody keeps saying it's an unknown, but I don't think it's an unknown because he's been pretty blatant
Yeah,
about it. So
yeah,
instead of people thinking it's an unknown, I think people should look at it as a certainty and plan for the worst and hope for the best.
mhm.
But to kind of leave it out there like, well, we can't do anything because we don't know what he's gonna do, just seems,
Well, I tell you that the current administration seems to be pressing its agencies to get federal funds that are committed either out the door or more
Right.
firmly established. So there is proactive
Good.
movement.
Well, someone's gotta get that moving, because I just look at it as, at our point of view, as a
It's a-
liability,
It is.
ticking, ticking, ticking.
It is, it has to be comparatively, and these are the things that happen when people offer you things, don't necessarily take them.
Right.
I sat on the whiteboard in the most board down in Syracuse. Both of them operate out of these former armories. Both of them obtained these armories for $1. Both of them thought they were acquiring an asset. Both of them acquired liabilities. And that's what the talk is.
Okay, let's move forward. Before we move forward, you're gonna be in touch with MERS to find out what's going on with?
I met with them. I met with them 3 days ago.
Okay, all right. Okay, so you're,
Yeah, we talked about it. They gave them, a course to pursue, and they're pursuing it. I just received text from Ed Merlin over the weekend.
all right.
So, yeah, there's nothing further to talk to them about unless we want to go ahead and defuel it, but I'd rather they do it through their grant process.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're on to administrative financial reports. I think, Stan, that would be you.
And what do you need? Hopefully I can read this, I got my glasses. Primary
Description
financial
or
report.
reading?
Cash position, balance sheet, and profit and loss statement. Cash position for this, ending 12/31/2024 is less than what we had 1 year ago, but slightly above the cash position for the past month. And as Tom was saying earlier, either way, what's the comparison? Should we do it from the prior month of the prior year, or should we compare it to the past month immediate?
And by earlier, it was a quick meeting of the finance audit committee. Report out on
On the balance sheet side, total assets as of 12/31/2024 are slightly above 1 month ago, quite a bit above for 1 year ago on 12/31/2023. A good share of the assets increase was due to 2 items, the FEMA West project and the pension deferred outflow. I wonder if I could, I don't want to put you on the spot, Deb, but could you, you've been doing this for years, so you should be on the spot. The pension deferred outflow, is that just a matter of when you fund that or what?
That is not something that I do anything with.
Oh,
It
you
has-
don't?
No, not the deferred outflows. That has to do with, I believe that one's related to the New York State retirement system. There's a GASB statement out, and the auditors have to make entries for us for all of that, and that's, Tom might be able to explain it a little bit better how it works.
So any of these qualified retirement plans that are owned and operated and accounted for under either FASB or GASB have to go through an actuarial valuation process. I didn't even get that word out right. Actuarial valuation process. And it's that actuarial valuation, well,
Third time, was it?
that's, third time was not the term. It's that process that, you know, determines then the entries that we make. You know, if you really want to talk about non-cash items that, you know, largely impact the, you know, the financial statements, that is one of them. And it hits in a number of different places because there's an asset component, there's a liability component, there's, and then there's what one calls the pension cost component, which sometimes pension cost can actually be a credit or income.
Okay, where was I?
Just,
And interest rates, projected, you know, draws on, you know, that's what, you know, the actual evaluation is. When are people going to draw on their retirement? When are they going to pass away? What are we using as a rate of return? What are we using as a discount rate to discount future values back to the present? Or future cash flows back to the present value?
I really haven't looked at that from month to month, but
Yeah, don't talk.
because it's not gonna be consistent,
It-
because of all those variables.
You know, you'll see the valuation once a year. As a matter of fact, we just contracted to have the valuation performed as part of the audit. And, you know, the audit can't even make it.
yeah, again, you know, I kind of, my head is spacing around everything that's going on in this country right now, and the FEMA stuff, is that gonna be something that we have to,
The FEMA funds have already been transferred and are under the operation and control of the New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services.
okay,
So they've been moved from federal to state.
so it's safe and,
They're better state.
okay. Because that's a big chunk.
Now, we do have an $11.5 million PIDP grant that the state is looking for. Well, it requires matching funds. And so, you know, that's one of the things that we're working on.
Okay, that's a fun payment, state.
Well, there are certainly a number of different, primarily, yeah. Primarily, you know, they, the governor announced, let's see, the passenger rail infrastructure, the passenger freight rail appropriations. But I have it in my office. The PFRAP, which is easy for me to say, is out there with applications due April 9th. Had some conversation with Carl Road, we'll be working with, you know, CNS on what we decide to utilize the PFRAP for. That'll, of course, come back to the board. All of that has to take place, you know, by the first week of April. In the meantime, we've also talked about, you know, the ability to optimize this PIDP federal grant to put infrastructure development grant, you know, which we have proposed out there, the warehouse, the climate-controlled warehouse, that, net zero energy utilization, and that would be a big number for PFRAP that they like to spread around. We've always been successful getting PFRAP money, so we might want to have multiple avenues there and see if perhaps in other areas of the budget appropriation we can get the matching grant, because I think it aligns very well with the governor's you know, strategy on economic development for Central New York, in particular, the ability to acquire a new major manufacturer and align that with the CHIPS Act. So this idea of those, you know, federal and state grant money sitting out there, the potential for funds that come out of, you know, some micron matching grant funds. There are a number of different sources that we can explore. And we'll be exploring them through the REDC, through the ESD, Empire State Development Corporation, and through direct communications with, there's a bi-monthly, twice a month, or once a month call, I'm looking at you, Kim, the call with the assistant deputy at the DOT and members of the budget office that was on last week.
It's monthly.
Monthly. It's, you know, the monthly call, and they're very helpful. It's a monthly opportunity to, you know, put forward some of our needs.
Back to the balance sheet. Total current assets continue to outweigh total current liabilities by a margin of about 2 to 1. So this shows that the board's in relatively good shape.
Where are we with NOAA at this point? Is that gonna bring in a, is that a part, an expense? I mean, where are we at with that?
No, I don't, you know, no, it's not, you know, the board, and I believe that I've been asked to be on the Micron Steering Committee, probably will get asked, you know, I guess, you know, filling Bill's position on both of those committees, but, you know, that's more about economic development for the region along the lake, and it has no direct impact on the port unless they determine that their permanent headquarters for, you know, this particularly designated borderline marine line would be located here. But that's a competitive process as to where they're going to end up located. And I know that the Marine Museum is very active in that, and that there's a committee out there working on it, but I don't know where they're at. I think it's a nice designation to have. I don't, you know, most of, you know, I think the designation as a national monument of safe haven potentially draw some tourism. I don't know about the other ones. The other one's mostly about diving and diving wrecks. You know, there are only so many available out there to the recreational diver.
I thought that was a lot more environmental.
That's true.
Which is where my interest would be.
Okay.
You know, and the tie to the university and the kind of funding that we could draw from the university, the Shinman Foundation. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I served on the Shinman board. The Board of Authority wouldn't qualify as an organization that they would donate to.
Okay. Continuing on with the profit and loss statement, the gross profit slightly below the gross profit of the prior year to date for 2023 through 24, and slightly below what was budgeted for this current fiscal year to date. Nothing dramatic. It's within 80 to 85% of matching those. Expenses are slightly below expenses of the prior year to date, and slightly above what was budgeted for this current fiscal year to date. And that's about it on those 3 items. The marina hasn't changed. Obviously, they're not doing much business this time of year. Okay. Accounts payable, they're down quite a bit compared to last month, which means that's a good thing.
Yeah, and there was some, you know, the largest item, if you know, you start looking at these things in total, and I really wouldn't worry about what's on the payables or receivables until after they get out past the 30-day mark. So now you're looking at age payables or age receivables. But the big one that was out there was, you know, progress billing in relation to the terminal there. And, you know, you're talking about items around $600,000 that come through. And, you know, so those are the items that disrupt our cash flow when we're paying those, and then waiting for the reimbursement of what is the FEMA grant being passed through to the State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, or it's called DISHES. And, you know, we've been getting some, you know, we've been getting our payments from them. They've been, you know, I think this project was of a larger scale than they were used to, and Debbie's been working hard with them, and I think that they're getting more used to seeing that type of billing from us, and they combined the last two payment requests into one, and so we should be wrapping that up relatively soon with just a small amount left over that's related to the east side over here at a much smaller scale than what took place over there. But that was quite a job over there to, you know, drive down that sheeting and you know, really, you know, extend the pier a little bit, but really repair what had become a damaged pier. Yeah. I wish we could just, wish we had our own barge, we'd take some aluminum over there.
Okay, continuing on, grant receivables. Port still has quite a bit of money to receive on that, and well over $1 million, so that's definitely gonna help
Closer
out.
to 1.9 million.
1.875.
You know, 1.4 million out on a line of credit, so that should increase our cash position by some 470 million.
Mhm.
470,000. I'm not even used to working 470,000.
Loan summary, December 2024, Port has about 6 loans outstanding, 3 being paid down, 2 recently increased the principal because of need, and then 1 is pretty constant with no interest charge. Schedule of assets for you, there are 12 items listed, very slight depreciation from month to month.
All of them are being paid down, there's no debt that isn't not being paid on.
Yeah, okay. Being paid down, but sometimes we do borrow more.
Yeah, so the lines of credit are
Lines of
more,
credit, yeah.
are more revolving as their terminology, but, yeah, the advance from the state, we have a set payment amount, and the other ones are, the other ones are being paid down.
Okay. That's it for me.
Okay.
All right, so if there are no questions or comments, we need motion 01132502 to accept the December's primary financial reports and subsidiary financial reports. That would be both exhibit C1 and C2.
I'm so moved.
Kit, thank you.
I'll second it.
And Diane. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes. All right. Chairman's report. Fran, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Do you have a report that you'd like to give?
Well, no, I mean, it's just, we just went through the whole transition period, which I was pleased that, it went as smoothly as it did, you know, I was thankful for all that, and, I hope, Bill has his happy retirement, and Tom is, Connie and I had a brief meeting, with Tom and Pat, before I left, and, which I feel was, real productive, and looks like we have a pretty good handle on everything, so I feel good about that, and that's it. You know, I'll make any other comments I have in executive session.
Thank you.
Hmm?
Gaining a handle every day.
Yeah. Okay, for committee reports, executive committee, The only thing I have to report is that I am the representative from the board to the ILA group, pension fund. And I just received their quarterly report, and their fund is with planned results Inc. in Syracuse. And their total portfolio is $4,818,769.15. Performance for 2024, the ratio of stock to bonds is 50-50. And they're overall up by 11.43%. We have a meeting that's going to be scheduled to go into detail. I have a 4-page,
Yeah, I think probably proprietary, but.
Yeah.
Because,
sure.
I
And,
understand this.
We meet 4 times a year. And then we get the number of people who are ready to retire and start drawing funds. So far, so good. Good. But that's all I have to report, so, how about audit and finance?
Nothing really to report right now, but we met previously, past hour, Kitty, myself, Tim, and Deb. And I think we're gonna be meeting
Again,
prior to the next 2 or 3 meetings,
at least.
getting ready for the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
To get things in, maybe look at other options.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, there's some reports and report structure that we talked about that, anything we can do to improve and change and certainly make the reports more legible to the board. Usually absorb a lot of numbers on a lot of pages.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, good luck with that. Governance?
No report, but I do want to say I feel badly that Bill instructed the committee and me and Megan to go over the employee handbook. And I've mentioned it at a meeting, and we haven't gotten to it yet, so I do hope we
Let
can.
me just assure you that, I've had conversations with Megan about it, and told her the handbook is in pretty good shape.
Yes,
She has it going, and, present change pages. I don't think that,
Okay.
you really need the burden to
Okay.
sit down. We'll bring forward any change pages redlined.
okay,
But, it's a good manual. While it is policy, a lot of it is underlying procedure. And I want to make
Okay.
sure that, the board is carrying out its responsibility relative to policy, but not getting
Yes.
bogged down in procedure.
Yes.
And this one kind of crosses
Okay.
over. So let us get it in
Okay.
condition, and let me take that burden off your mind, because we've been mentioning that, at
Well-
multiple meetings. And it really isn't your responsibility relative to most of its procedures.
okay. Bill mentioned to me,
Yeah.
he said there's some things in there that should come out,
Yeah.
and some things that should be in there.
Don't worry about that.
I don't know what those are.
I'll work with Megan to
Okay,
make sure that, what you're mostly doing is updating it each year
Okay.
to comply with labor law.
thank
So,
you.
they're mostly statutory changes.
Yeah,
So I mean, don't, I appreciate your diligence on it, but it's
thank you, okay.
not something you're delinquent in.
Yay, John.
We're all over it.
Planning and development. Okay,
Nothing to report,
okay.
we haven't done much, right?
In any case, I haven't done any much planning or development, I'm
Okay.
just trying to wade above my nose above the water.
Okay,
Well, we don't have anything on the agenda for old business, but is there any? No?
Question I have is, how is the, pad, what was it, the lift over there? It had to be redone.
On the.
The hoist.
The marina?
Yeah, the hoist, how's that going?
Well, we have, you know, an emergency permit out there to do the work that, you know, CNS was working with us on. They're a little backed up on things, but there's not much we can do until this weather breaks a little bit. This, you know, we, I think, gotten lulled into sleep on the harsh winters until this one got really harsh in the last few weeks, so there's not much, there's not much we can do. But we'll make sure that it's repaired and up and ready for the season, because it's the only way. It's the only way we can get boats in the water, and it'll be ready to get boats in the water. We have a job plan in place, we just need to get the emergency permit issued. And even if they issued it today, we couldn't work on it. Is that a fair answer, Pat?
Yes, yep.
Sure.
All right. New business? We have a request to move to executive session for discussion of contracts. And we have a motion to go into executive session.
I'll move it.
Second,
Stan and John.
What time you start carrying your weight?
what?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5:42, we go into executive session.
Second,
I'll make that motion.
I already
You
did
can't.
it. You're a day late and a dollar
So
short.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Thank you.
And
Cut.